Hey guys, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a good day so far. This is kind of a topic that popped into my head when I was chatting to a mate last week. He kind of just Facebooked me and he just asked, do you think you have to completely bottom out? Or do you think you need to just hit the draft? What do you need to do basically to become a good team? So it kind of got me thinking, and I kind of told him at the time, I don't think we need to completely bottom out to get to where we want to go. Some people believe that we need to just hit the draft. Some people believe we need to trade out every single player, start from the ground up. I'm kind of not of that belief. I think that we've done a few good things, and then I think there's a lot that needs to be tweaked. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to recalibrate the wheel, if you will. No pun intended. I thought I'd put an Instagram post out there. I did that late last week, and it was, give me one suggestion on what can take us from pretender to contender. And I thought I'd get a few responses, but I got a lot of responses from this. So I kind of thought I'd do a video and go through what people think. This is what the general Saints faithful think in terms of their one suggestion. If they could pick one thing that could really drive us to not just becoming a good team, not just becoming a team that makes finals, gets knocked out, none of that shit. It's a team that, when you like a team that you watch that's just there every year. Geelong. Hate to say it. But how can you become a club like that? And I think, obviously, yes, having A graders, drafting well, those are two things that are non-negotiables in my eyes. You could have been in the shittest club for 10 years, but you walk through the doors in Geelong or Sydney, whatever, and immediately you got to work their way. It's not the club tries to fit you. You got to try and fit the club. You've got to prove to everyone else that you are suited to that culture and to that club. And that's something I don't think we quite have yet. So I think this is a really interesting conversation to have because it seems fairly generalized, right? Like, guys, how do we become a contender? And everyone's going to say, get A graders. We don't have enough. Everyone knows that. But there is more to it than that. Obviously, we will talk about that. And I'm sure there's going to be many Sainers here that suggest that. But let's see what they say. So I haven't gone through these, to be honest. So this is kind of the first time that I'm reading them. But I feel like it's going to be really interesting to see what you guys think. So let's have a look. Purple Patch is saying, accountability. I believe that Ratton's soft and friendly approach is a detriment to us. So he thinks accountability. We need to be a bit firmer in the coaching box. If a player's not performing, they're out the next week. Not keep them in for a month, not keep them in for a couple of games. They're out, bring someone in that's being rewarded from Sandringham and play them. Fair call. Gina is saying, more support up forward for King till he matures. Geelong have at least 3 big forwards. Geelong have got Cameron, Hawkins. I don't know who the third big tall is. I mean, Stanley can rest there, but I think those are kind of the main two. Rowan doesn't really count, but I see what you mean. We're kind of relying on King straight off the bat. We don't have that Tom Hawkins that takes the pressure off him. Membry's not really that type. I get what you mean. I think that could be good. But again, this is very much an on-field suggestion. I'm curious about the ones that are not really off-field, but we'll get into those. Consistency in front of goal with our playing style and be more efficient going inside 50. Mindset, that's a good one. That's from Grant. Mindset, I think that's one of mine. Mentality to believe that we deserve to be in the top 8, that we deserve to be where we are, and we deserve to win a flag, that we can win a flag. We haven't had that mentality in a long time. I think all the best teams have a mentality of, we're good enough, we're ruthless enough, but we don't believe that. So it's a cross between that mental strength, but also that belief that we can do this. Like, we are capable. We are good players. We have it in our locker room to beat the best teams. And we believe occasionally, and it comes off. And then a lot of the time, even against some of the lower ranked teams, Our mindset is negative. Our belief is non-existent. And we lose. So I think it is really a big part is getting that right moving forward. Ryan says vocal on-field leadership in all positions. That's a really good one. I think that's a big part of why we aren't quite there yet. I think you see some of the best teams, Geelong, they've got leaders everywhere. Tom Stewart's in the back line, Dangerfield, Selwood in the midfield, Tom Hawkins in the forward line. You've got players on the bench that are yelling. There's a lot of extroverted, or not even really extroverted players, but they're extroverted when they're playing. You know, we've got extroverts off field, but they bring that on field. You know, you can be quiet off the field, but once the ball's bounced, switch on. We have kind of a carryover of players that are quiet off the field and then they bring it into their game. Whether that's a key thing that we're looking to draft, bring in some more, I guess, vocal players. I think that's a big part of, you know, when we go to the draft, we need to look at what type of personality they have. Are they going to be quiet on the field? Are they going to be loud? Are they going to bark orders? I think we need a bit more of that. So that's a really good suggestion from Ryan. Maddie says forward line coach who connects well with Lenny, someone who can get our small forwards up and about. That is great. Stephen Milne. Stevie J is on the market from GWS now. He's gone from there. He's looking for a job and he's moving back down to Victoria. So I dare say Stevie J with Lenny Hayes would be very, very nice. Another Geelong connection there with Corey Enright in the back line could be very nice indeed. Semi-rebuild from Brogan. So he thinks that we do need a bit of a semi-rebuild. I don't think we need a rebuild as such. I think maybe a semi-rebuild could be reworded to kind of a recalibration. Like I said, just a slight tweak, a top up in a few positions. And maybe, to me, it's more a restructure of our game plan and our mentality towards the year and what we want to achieve, but stick to it. Because at the halfway mark of this year, we had a certain view, we had a certain angle, we had a certain mentality, and then after that it changed. We need to be really firm and really consistent with this is what we do every single week, and it is not changing for the 12 months that we're playing. But this year, it just changed. Once something changed, our mentality changed. We need to really be really tough with, you know, this is our approach to the year and we do not deviate from it. Mental toughness, that's from Brad. Execution and leadership. And leadership is a very common thread in this one. Barnaby says, develop someone to be an authentic X factor or trade for one. I dare say that's what Jordan De Goey would have been, but that didn't come off. So we're going to have to find someone internally that can do that. Better connection between forwards and mids. That's from Rory. Culture. That's from Ben. Very simple. Culture. I think that's a top one. But I think all of these things that we need to tweak, you know, what can take us from being a pretender to contender? Culture is kind of what to me is the overhead, but there are different levels of what, you know, boxes that you need to tick to hit that. That's culture. Do you know what I mean? You don't just change culture. Culture is what time do the players get in and what time do they leave? Culture is more than two players speak up in a meeting. Culture is leaders that go up to a player that's missed 4 shots in a row, Max King, and pats him on the back and says, mate, you're a gun. We're going to still kick it to you. We back you in. Not let him sulk and let him put his head down and let him be. You know, culture is doing an extra thing that you didn't think was required. There are so many layers to this. So I agree that culture is a big thing, but that's a very generic and sort of overhead term. There are, you know, subcategories that are, I guess, included in culture, and you need to start kind of ticking those off as you go. Consistency, game plan, better list management, club culture. Again, so club culture is becoming a big one. Leadership is probably another one that a lot of people have mentioned. Player development, that could be another one. So there's a lot of mentions here of leadership and culture. So I'm glad that a lot of people have mentioned that. Show up in primetime games, in pressure games. To me, that's obviously a mentality thing. I don't think that's really a structural thing. I think that's going into games and becoming really conservative and nervous and not wanting to take on some of those risky kicks. You know, if you're playing in front of 10,000 people against North, we pull those kicks off. You're playing in front of 60,000 against Carlton at the G, suddenly we don't pull those kicks off because we don't take them. So I think that's, you know, again, you know, high risk, high reward. We didn't really want to begin taking the risks. Michael's got a good one and we'll end it on that. Unconditional effort from start to finish. Don't pick and choose the moments that you want to go. That's a really good one. But again, like I said at the top, a lot of those are specific to on-field. There is so much off-field that we need to get right, and we've got the facilities right. We're breaking into our debt. We're progressing that really, really well. But it's the next step of standards, of expectations, of driving a level of a standard from very top to the very bottom. And I think obviously we're having this review at the moment, and I think that looking at it, we're going to get a new head of football. It's going to be Jeff Walsh. She's going to be announced this week, coming up hopefully. Maybe by the time this video drops, who knows. Then you've got forwards coach. You know, we've lost a couple of coaches. They're gone. They've been around for a while. Danny Sexton, he's gone. Brendan Lade, he's gone. Lenny Hayes is in. You can see that slight shift. Lenny Hayes was a born leader. He's a winner. You know, he didn't win a flag, but he wanted to win every single game. He gave every game his all, like he was never going to play football again. Then you've got the forward lines coach opening. Who could that be? Could it be a Stevie J, a guy that's done it all? He's a Norm Smith medalist, played at Geelong. I think the more, I guess, leaders that we can get in the club, like those sort of guys that have been there, they've done that, they've played in the systems that we aspire to become, I think that's really, really important. To me, I think we've focused so hard on trading and drafting and on-field and game plan and that sort of stuff that we almost forgot that we didn't really have the coaching staff around Ratton, the right fits for Rats. And now I think we're starting to see that come to a head with this review, that we've found that maybe the review focused on the playing group and who we need to get rid of and who's got trade value and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, with the level of turnover in the coaching staff already that we've seen, there's already 2 that are gone, I believe. There could be more. Maybe the review has now stemmed to, well, these guys have been around for a while. What exactly have we done? Jared Roughhead, what's exactly his role now? David Rath, it's being reordered. So maybe we had some of the right, I guess, cogs in the system, but they weren't in the right part of the system. And now we're shuffling that around. Leflin is now going to be CEO. We've got David Rath, who's going to have a new position. We're going to have a head of football overseeing everything. Then we've got Lenny Hayes. We've got Corey Enright. Those are 2 guns already in their own right, playing and coaching. So I can't wait. Corey Enright has changed our back line. Then you've got Lenny Hayes, who hopefully can change our midfield. Forward line, to me, that to get that position right, if we can get that coach right and it fits our system, and he's a class act and he's done that, he's got the experience, that to me almost completes that coaching structure. Almost completes it. And then whether we change a few more assistants around Rats. But obviously you're going to have Lenny Hayes in the box. You're going to have Corey Enright in the box. You're going to have Jared Roughhead on the bench. You've got Brett Ratton in the box. David Rath. There's going to be a bit of a restructure, but I think that, to me, it's almost more off-field coaching, mentality, leadership, and creating that sort of goal that we can stick to for a year that is almost more important than just hitting the draft, just getting youth. Because the youth can come in. We can get youth. But if there's no level of sort of standards and expectations from the very top, that when that player that we've drafted walks through the door and immediately is hit with sort of a sense of expectation, a sense of, we expect you to be this way at St Kilda, we expect you to train this way at St Kilda and do extra because we are striving to win that flag, and we're going to do that in the next 5 years, and stick to that message constantly for anyone that walks through that door, then it doesn't matter if they're a number 1 pick. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've had that before and it hasn't worked out, and we've blamed those players, but maybe the system, maybe the messaging, when they walked through that door, just wasn't quite what it needed to be. But when you walk through a door in Cardinia Park, you go through Sydney, there's a message, there's a structure, there's a goal, and it gives them confidence, and they fit a system, and it's seamless. We haven't had that I guess that's the word, onboarding. For when players walk through the door, what do they expect to become? What does the club expect of them? And if they don't fit the system, they don't fit that culture, you're gone. You're gone. It doesn't work. We don't just keep you on board and pay your salary, So I think that's kind of my take on it. I mean, there's obviously a lot more, and that's a bit more generic, but I just wanted to create a discussion, more opening it to you guys and kind of just seeing what you guys think in the comments. And then the last thing is being ruthless on and off the field. Look at Geelong. They've just won a flag. And they potentially are going to go and get Jack Bowes from the Gold Coast, pay his big back-ended contract, and get pick 7. They just won the flag. And then they're going to get a top 10 pick, and he's going to nominate them. It's because they've got a good system. And until you become a club like them, just a club that's a contender, that is class off and on the field, you're not going to get players like Jack Bowes nominating. You know, we did a couple of years ago, we made finals, but we still had to pay overs. We had to pay overs to get Brad Hill, to get Zach Jones. These are why these guys are on a lot of money, is because they're not coming into a club that's a born-bred winner. You know, and we want to become that. So I think sometimes you've got to make those harsh calls. So whether that means trading in a player like a Jack Bowes, just biting the bullet and getting that pick 7, being ruthless enough to say, all right, we've got pick 9, but we want pick 7. We're going to pay your contract. We're going to get pick 7. We're getting 2 young guns in the top 10 draft, and we're going to put them straight into the starting lineup next year. Or just do something different. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully that's kind of a message that they're looking at with this review, and how to be a bit more ruthless off the field. I think until we become a bit more stern off the field and have clear messaging off the field, how can we expect to translate that on the field and have clear messaging on the field and ruthlessness on the field as well during games? We need to be hard from the top to the bottom, off and on the field. So that's kind of my take on it, Saners. That's obvious. There's obviously a lot more to that. There's a lot more history that we can go into, and the lack of draft picks and the lack of identifying young talents and turning them into the players they're probably destined to become. But for me, it's as much off the field as it is on. So I'll leave it there. I really appreciate everyone commenting on the Insta story and submitting their thoughts on what they think can get us from being a pretender to a contender. I'm going to open it up to everyone watching on the YouTube channel now. What do you think is one thing that we can do that will not take us from one step, but get us on that transition phase from being a pretender to a contender? I'd love to hear your thoughts, Saners. So comment below. Let me know. If you enjoyed this video and you're enjoying the off-season content, all the trade videos, all that stuff, I'd appreciate a like, and I'd even more appreciate a subscribe. Let's try and get to 5,000, 6,000, 7, and then hit 10,000 subscribers in the next 6 to 12 months. That'd be amazing. So I really appreciate it if you hit subscribe, and you'll get notified on all my future videos. And yeah, I'll be back during the week. I'll be out from Wednesday for a week in New South Wales for some personal time. So if there's any trade news over that period, I'll try my best to report on it as quickly as I can. But I will be away with family stuff on. So yeah, if they're a bit delayed, apologies for that. But hopefully these sort of videos, when I can do them, you enjoy them as well. So I'll leave it there, Saners. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go you mighty Saners. See you guys.